Hello, everyone. Welcome to the PIPCAST 3000. I'm Caedo Genesis. This is my co-host, Bad Company Sarge.
Hello there.
I'm already doing things out of order. Bi-weekly podcast where we talk about gaming news and Fallout and have some sort of Fallout-y related topic. Our special guest today in this episode is the one and only William Strife.
Hello, I am William Strife, the solution man of Strife Solutions. If you would like a solution today, you just have to sell me your soul.
That was nice and short and sweet. Will, what do you do?
I have been a part-time YouTuber since 2006.
Oh,
or is it
my God.
2007? I think I made the channel in 07.
So the beginning of
Just
YouTube.
Basically the beginning of time.
Pretty much.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, does anybody remember a time before YouTube at this point? Not really.
The beginning of when the internet mattered.
Well, you know, back whenever the internet was fragmented and it wasn't consolidated under like 5 separate websites, and you know, Facebook goes down and your grandma thinks that the internet stopped existing, or at this point, just your mom. No, I've been doing part-time YouTube since like about 2007. And I've primarily made guides over that time, but I also have, you know, done a little bit of Fallout, done a little bit of Elder Scrolls, and done a fair amount of Minecraft as well. If you're interested, you can find me over at youtube.com/WillStrife. Will Strife or William Strife? God, I do not visit my own YouTube channel manually very often.
There will be a link in the description.
Yeah,
that'll work. You could just scroll
there will
down.
be.
Nobody types things into browsers anymore, especially if you're on a phone. You're probably running an application.
Yeah.
And God knows your application's sniffing around and finding out about all your dirty little secrets.
Oh,
instead
boy.
of just using your super safe and secure web browser, which nobody wants to hear. No, I don't need to proselytize about security. It bores people. Anyways.
or somebody updated their Audacity and now they're regretting it. Something along those lines. Yeah, well,
I mean, that went absolutely sideways for me because with Audacity, I was in the middle of a project whenever I found out, you should probably roll back. So I won't get into that, but anybody listening and curious, like just Google Audacity spyware. And you'll probably get some articles that are way too complicated that you don't really understand because it's security stuff. But
I feel like we have a couple of those already anyway, so. I think the NFT one, though, thankfully, is a good news one. So, you know.
I mean, we don't get many, good headlines these days. There's a lot of doom and gloom in the headlines.
Yeah.
You know.
But we'll get to that. I wanted to try to do a positive spin because there was like a podcast a couple of episodes ago where Sarge and I were just kind of done with the topic and stuff, so we like postponed for a week. So it's like this is a lot of like not positive stuff. Like some of it was neutral, but a lot of it was kind of depressing.
Yeah. Today is going to be the most positive by far.
Today is going to be great.
For
that's
months
fantastic.
and months.
It's going to be
What
great.
a fantastic time for me to show up. Wait, for months and months. That means like for 4 whole podcasts?
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Where are we going first?
Oh, we're going. Okay. Sorry. I thought you were segueing into something. We have a tip of the day first and a comment of the cast, which we usually do. And since nothing was really coming to mind, I asked you, Will, to say a word of the day instead.
Oh, yeah. So word of the day. So whenever I stream, you on Twitch, you can gain points and you can redeem them on the channel that you get them from. And one of the things that you can get from me is the option to say an S word. Because, well, my name is William Strife of Strife Solutions. I have a persona in Minecraft, and I am a horrible capitalist businessman who is always exploiting people. That is the persona. So Strife of Strife Solutions, you can understand that there are a lot of S's there. So your S word for today is solutions. You can get them from me in multiple different ways. You can pay me, just take your soul out, Doom Eternal style, if you want. That's always an option. It's kind of hard to figure out how to use a soul once you've extracted it from the body, but don't worry, we have solutions for that as well. So
Nice.
There's your tip of the day, solutions.
Solutions. One will be designated to you. or you'll come up with one.
Well, I have a solution for everyone, and I swear they're non-fungible.
Wonderful.
Just wait for it. I just you want my NFTs of Solution Coin and stuff? We've got it all. It's on the blockchain.
Oh yes. No. We'll get on to the comment of the cast. We had a little bit of a spicy topic last episode too. I don't know if should we gloss over that, Sarge? Like we got some comments.
Oh,
well, I mean, you've got to share it with. You can't.
yeah.
You can't
Now you
open
brought it
it
up.
I've brought it up now.
You told me to. You were like, go ahead, check it out. Like this is the last episode, and I looked at the topic, and I was like, I'm gonna look at a couple of. I'm gonna like go back into the archive and find something else. So I don't know what you did in the last episode.
Oh, well then we'll just skip it.
Oh wow. So that's.
I'll be like, listen. If you want, if anybody is interested in the last topic, then please go back and look. But I think that's the strongest stance I had on something, or like maybe like the second, like only a couple things that were like a pretty serious topic. But
you're talking about news topic, not Fallout topic. I was thinking this is quite dark for talking about just what Fallout factions we like.
Not the tier list.
I mean, was it about the merger or the purchase?
No. I think
okay.
we talked about it. We talked about that at some point. I think that was.
I would be surprised. I mean, on a bi-weekly podcast, like
we're talking about that the Sony one on this one. So
yeah, I mean, geez, it's the month of mergers, or well, the year of merge. Is it the month? Did they? No, it's February now.
Yeah.
But did they announce it back? Was it the 30th? No, I don't think it matters.
All the mergers, all the time.
I feel like both the Sony merger and the Microsoft merger came out in January, both of them.
Pretty close to each other.
Yeah. So. It's like Sony saying to Microsoft, well, I can do that too. Me.
Okay. Well, we do grab a comment, so we're going to read off the comment of the cast. Sarge, would you be able to do that? It's a positive one. I hearted it and everything.
Yeah.
No. I'll get this. Oh,
Sorry, okay.
Move out of the way.
Okay.
I'm stepping back. Go for it.
Wouldn't it be very expensive and time consuming to make Fallout 76 online? I don't know about the tech side of things, to be honest. Liking the stream podcast or whatever this is. Loving both of your stuff as usual. Keep it up, guys. That's
thank
Ian
you.
Drake. So.
But I heard you said online instead of offline.
Yeah, I'm afraid you messed up one word.
Well, the most critical word there. Yes. Would it be expensive and time consuming to make 76 offline? Yeah. I read this in the notes before coming on, and I was like,
I mean, you even managed to like autocorrect the word before 76, which is spelled entirely wrong.
God, there are so many. Okay, so my sister does this same thing, and I mentioned that to her once, and she was like, "Oh, it's just you pick it up eventually reading online where like nothing is autocorrected." This was before everybody was doing stuff on phones, obviously, which is how you can tell this guy wrote this comment out on a computer. So autocorrect would have been all over that typo.
Yeah. Thank you, anyway. Ian Drake. I mean, the autocorrect could have been ale. Like he just likes drinking a lot of ale. And...
Oh, well, okay, rain on my parade now.
I'm sorry, I'm raining on your parade.
Determined that I've been wrong this whole time. What has my life meant? I could see it being possible. I don't know that it would be a worthwhile endeavor for Bethesda or what studio is responsible for 76, because I know that the primary Bethesda Softworks internal development studio of the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout franchise are not really responsible for Fallout 76.
Yeah,
I think they were only
the Austin studio. I think is the 76 studio
that as well. Like I know it's a different studio, and Austin comes to mind, but.
Well, I mean, this gets into something about like the internal structure of Bethesda, because God, I'm not a news guy. I do not like get up on YouTube and I don't like talk about, oh, this is a thing that happened. In fact, I've gotten a bit of flack from people in the past who are like, man, your channel's so dead. Why didn't you just switch to doing news like Mr. Matty Plays? Which, nothing against him, but
yeah, same. But like
that's what
I can't do that on a
yeah, it's like that's what he chose to do to shit. Like, it's YouTube, it's a shifting landscape, you got to change and whatnot, but that was not for me. But I remember for, I want to say 6 months or so, or a year before the Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda, or, well, more specifically, ZeniMax Media, I remember looking into a lot of the details and understanding, because it was a private company, so all of the finances were opaque, and I was looking at it and saying, man, where is their next injection of cash gonna come from? And a lot of their actions right now, they don't speak loudly of a company that is still going to be privately funded. It looks like a company that's trying to make themselves an appealing purchase. And I never made a video about that, but it was like they had a private equity partner, and, you know, they were the reason why the ZeniMax had so much money to allocate to Bethesda Game Studios. Like, I forget what the name of the company was, but twice over, once during the development of Oblivion, they got a huge cash infusion, and that's what was responsible for the creation of Fallout 3. And then after that, they got another cash infusion that was responsible for the creation of Skyrim. And it was also what drove ZeniMax to go on a buying spree to acquire id Software, Tango Gameworks, and all the other game studios and whatnot. So why was I talking about this again? I don't remember.
I don't know. It's fun to rant, though, isn't it?
It is. I need to stay more focused, though.
That's okay. How are you with segues?
Segues present themselves occasionally.
Okay.
I mean, what is it? Fallout 76. Right. Making it offline. So
yes.
The whole thing about making a Fallout 76 offline, I could see it being possible from a fan perspective, but from a money perspective of like where to put your work and effort in, I could never see it happening. Yeah. Technologically, I could imagine it, because they've already stretched and twisted that engine in ways that it was never intended to be, you know? So I could see scaling it back, but at the same time, with Fallout 70, like, I haven't played Fallout 76 since the disastrous launch. So, like, what would the game even work in single player? Like, is the game balanced to operate as a single player game?
I'm pretty sure
enemies are fairly tanky and bullet spongy compared to other Fallout games. That's like the biggest thing of when you play solo versus in a team. If you're in a team and you're all like optimized builds, everything dies in seconds. If you're playing solo and aren't on the exact meta, then it can be a bit of a just shoot, call one enemy dead onto the next one kind of thing.
Like Fallout 3 in very hard mode. So
oh man, I can't recall if I ever played Fallout 3 in very hard mode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really recommend, like, maybe hard mode, but like very hard. It's just everything's spongy.
I mean, one thing I do remember, like in the early days of YouTube, when Fallout 3 came out, someone pointed out with a very short video that if you turned the difficulty way up, you would do a lot less damage, your enemy would do a lot more damage, but it also doubled the experience you got when you killed something.
Yeah.
And I looked, and they were like, so this is a way for you to like really get to max level fast. And I looked at it and I said, but they don't change the scaling for experience, and you'll just hit max level super fast, and then you'll stop leveling up, and stopping leveling up kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I remember hitting max level in Fallout 3 and being like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 hours later being like, why haven't I leveled up again? And I looked at it and I was like, you gotta be kidding me, there's an end? This isn't okay.
Yeah, and now we're getting off track again. But in vanilla, 20 was the cap.
Yeah, it was.
In Fallout 3. And then I think it was what?
It was 30 with the Broken
30,
Steel DLC.
30 was broken. Okay, that's right. Yeah, wow.
And I believe 30 was the max level in New Vegas, and I think they boosted it by like 5 or 10 levels with every DLC.
It was it was 5 with each story DLC, so maxed at 50, which was nice.
So then
50's cool.
Which one boosted the level limit by 10 instead of 5, I wonder? Because there were 5 DLC. 5 times 5 is 25.
It was the story ones. So excluding Gunrunner's Arsenal, because that's a...
Oh, that's right. There were. Oh, I'm getting it mixed up with Fallout 3.
Thing.
Because Fallout 3 had 5 story
Yeah.
DLCs. New Vegas only had 4.
Yeah.
I think. Oh my god, I can't remember anything.
I think so. I think you're right. Yeah, because for some reason, my brain doesn't count Broken Steel because it's just more of a like epilogue thing.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it kind of like. I find it funny because I like mechanically what Broken Steel did to Fallout 3, but I do not like the story of what it did to Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Because it was like I get that a lot of people were upset with the fact that like the way that Fallout 3 ended, but
It's fine, whatever. It's Fallout 3.
It's like, okay, so you can't play after you finish Fallout 3, and that's really unusual for a Bethesda game, but I mean, it was a culminating conclusion to the story. Not that Bethesda's writing is something that you're going to win an award on, but
Oh, it's so amazing. What are you talking about? It's the best. It's the best writing of all time.
Yeah, I mean, especially what happens there with, like, how did Colonel Autumn not die at the same time as your father?
He had a MacGuffin injection.
Yes, oh my word, he had something amazing called plot armor. Oh.
Super Radix that just stops all rads forever.
But still lets you collapse and look like you died. And
Yeah.
It cripples
was
your
a-
legs and stops all rads. There's something, I'm sure.
I have the physical guide for Fallout 3, like the hardback version of it. And I remember reading through it at some point, and the guy who wrote it, whenever Colonel Autumn shows up again later in the game, he says something about how he has this flippant offhand remark about, you know, the rad resistance of his trench coat. You know, and it was clearly a comment of like, I don't understand why this guy is still around. I thought I watched him die.
Yeah. Good old Colonel Autumn. So why don't we get on to the news?
Sure.
We've been going for, oh man, I
20
actually
minutes now?
love how much going off the rails we're doing already. So first and foremost, the Elder Scrolls Online players probably already know about this, so we're not gonna probably not talk about it too much. Links for everything is down in the description like normal. But Legacy of the Bretons has been announced or released.
I think it's announced, it looked like to me. I didn't actually. Like, you know how sometimes the videos will thumbnail and they'll play a little bit, and like, that's all I've seen.
Okay.
High Isle arrives on June 6th
Yes.
for PC and for Xbox and PlayStation June 21st.
Thank you, Sarge. You were
So
reading the description.
6/6/22. 6/6/22. At least you can't get the date wrong. Even when you live in England.
I can get the date wrong. Dates are horrible. I hate them. I've complained about them on this podcast already.
That's what I'm talking about. 6/6/22. You can't get the date wrong because the month and the day are the same.
Because it's the same.
I mean, I'm sure I'll
This
still
time.
mess it up. Because I'll think they've just added them together or divided them. I don't know how dates work in America. There'd be strange foreign things, but I've never wrapped my head around.
So anyways.
That means if we played the Elder Scrolls Online, we'd all be starting at the same time. Because it's all on the same day, no matter what. No matter
Sans a couple of hours difference for you know.
Yeah.
Have you guys played Elder Scrolls Online before?
I've attempted it a few times, and I'm not good with MMOs. I just really can't get into it. Like, I've tried it several times, but
I have an
can't.
interesting story with Elder Scrolls Online. It's a very interesting story. I'm sure it's riveting to those that are listening too.
My chin is in my hands. Go on.
I'm sorry. I cut you off, Sarge.
No, I stopped talking so you could speak.
It's okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Shortly after it came out, or like a year after, or something like that, Lone Vault Wanderer, for those of you who are familiar, he is now a community manager for the Australia Bethesda offices. But he still has a YouTube channel. He obviously just doesn't upload it as much as he used to. But he decided to start something called collab mode. I don't remember how long ago this was. I actually am still part of that Discord, so I could scan back. So like 2018-ish, or late 2017. I'm gonna say late 2017.
Okay, so a while back.
A while back. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, first video came out on August 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he started collab mode with the intent of getting a whole bunch of YouTubers together, Bethesda YouTubers together, just to do things together, to play games or commentate on something or whatever. It didn't seem like, I don't want to make too many assumptions here. It didn't seem like he had too much experience with getting that level of collaboration together.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yep, you do. And a lot of learning was had too, I'm sure.
Are you saying that it may have been lofty goals for a first attempt or something?
Extremely lofty goals and a logistical nightmare. Because most of us during that time also had day jobs and had days that we had free and days we did not. And not to mention our like own YouTube schedules and such, or streaming schedules, whichever kind of thing that we did. But anyway, one of the main things that he wanted us to do, which I could not partake in because I worked on weekends, was doing a weekend session with each other on Elder Scrolls Online. And what he managed to do before he was, a community manager, he was able to get hooked up with several digital keys for the Elder Scrolls Online. So luckily I didn't have to pay for it, which was very kind. But I got the game and just wasn't able to play it with anybody else. So I think I made an Argonian mage type character at some point, played around a little bit, and then messaged people back and forth being like, hey, is anybody going to be playing during the week? Because I'm, only available during the weekdays.
And nobody was there.
And it's the complete opposite for everybody else. So I was just by myself the whole time in an MMO, which wasn't too terribly fun and interesting.
I have a bit of a different story with ESO.
Oh, yes, please share.
My story was that at the time, like my YouTube channel has shrunk over the years. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I was bigger whenever ESO came out, and they were like, we're going to send you a key for this game. So, I get it, and I install it, and I play it, and I wasn't particularly impressed by it because everything was matching up against World of Warcraft. Mm-hmm. And I only played World of Warcraft basically for its initial vanilla phase. Like, I picked up the first expansion, but I was already done with the game by then. Mm-hmm. So that's basically where most of my MMO experience lies, with a very, very old version of World of Warcraft. Mm-hmm. And, I've got all of this time on Skyrim and stuff, and I was like, this feels entirely different, and it also feels entirely wrong to me. Mm. So I tried playing it. I sort of got somewhere, but I wasn't terribly impressed, and I put it down, and I was like, I just don't think that this is for me. And then years later, like I want to say maybe 2 years later or something, I decide, I haven't played that in a while, and I think it was around the time or just before when they put out the Morrowind expansion. I said to myself, oh, I haven't played that in a while. Why don't I give that a shot again? I still got a copy of the game. So I go back. They revoked my copy.
Oh,
the key didn't work anymore.
Oh my God.
Like I didn't have the game anymore. So I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So instead of being deterred, I was like, okay, well, I mean, at this point, what I'm doing on YouTube, it's like I have to keep books on everything. So this will count as a business write-off to just purchase the game again. So I did, and I went back and I tried to play the game again, and I just wanted to play Skyrim when I started it. That's all that happened to me. I was like, I would rather go back and play Morrowind or Oblivion or Skyrim. And I'm like, I just don't want to sit here and play this. So, which is funny because as over the last 2.5 months or so, I've been playing Fallout 4 again. And
Yeah.
I initially picked it up for charity, and I decided to crack into some of the DLC that I had never played before, and I just couldn't stop thinking about just shutting off Fallout 4 and playing Fallout 3 instead. Oh, we'll get on to something like that in a moment.
Is 3? Can I ask? Is 3 your quote unquote favorite?
And do you want to declare this publicly on the internet? The more important part.
I was pretty explicit when New Vegas came out that I thought that Fallout 3 was a better game. Now my opinion over time has changed. It's like, well, listen, Obsidian really excels at their character-driven storytelling. That's really where they shine. Their world creation is not the pinnacle of game experience. You just need to look at the Outer Worlds to understand that. So, like, I think, in my personal opinion, I think that despite the fact that New Vegas does not have as expansive and as interesting of a world to explore, in my opinion, I think that New Vegas is the crowning jewel of the franchise. But Fallout 3 is the first game in the series that I ever played. And I get so many people who come into my streams, and it's like, listen, I'm kind of partially playing Fallout 4 because I want to do a big long essay about why I've got these hangups with Fallout 4, and I want to be able to put my problems with the game into words. There you go. Which just requires that you play a bunch of a game that you're not really having all that much fun with.
So you want to sound knowledgeable in what you're doing.
Yeah. So I've gotten a lot of people who are like, oh, it's so great to see you playing Fallout again, or like, because I've been around so long, I've had a lot of people show up who are like, oh my god, I remember watching your videos back in like 2009. Oh my god, I didn't know you still existed, type stuff. I
was gonna say, are you quoting me with that first part? But like, I knew you existed the whole time.
I'm pretty sure I found both of your channels around the same time when I was playing Fallout 3 for the first time.
Oh man. So I mean, it's just like there will be people who will come in and they'll have that type of reaction, and then they'll ask me, what I'm doing and everything, and I'll say, I'm trying to figure out what it is about this game exactly mechanically that rubs me the wrong way, because I don't think that Fallout 4 is a very good game.
Oh,
and they like, I'm just very upfront about it.
There's a spicy one, yeah.
And then they're very frequently they will say something about like, but it's an amazing game. And I, usually there's some sort of a discussion about, well, have you played the older games in the franchise? And the people who haven't say that Fallout 4 is amazing, and the people who have gone back will say, yeah, I kind of get the complaints about Fallout 4 after playing the older games. And there have been a couple of people who immediately follow that up with, I get the complaints, but Fallout 4 was my first. And that matters for a lot. That is an emotional thing that's a chip that you can't take away. It's something that you hold.
Yeah,
and you don't lose it because it's memories that you make.
If you have the nostalgia for it, like that holds so much weight.
I mean, I've had to like be very diplomatic with people who get very upset whenever I say that Fallout 4 is a bad game. Like, guys, listen, there are terrible games on the market. There are really bad games that I go back and play because sometimes you just like a game that's freaking awful, and you can recognize that it's awful, but for no good reason, you are enjoying yourself. So it's okay.
Me and Sergeant 76. I'm pretty sure. That's
I suppose. I met another small streamer on Twitch who she's got a huge soft spot for Fallout 76, even though she doesn't play it anymore. But she was like, I just wanted to enjoy this game with other people. And she played it with her mother, and she was playing it with her mom when she was No, her mother passed away, and I don't remember if she was in the process of passing away whenever they were playing Fallout 76, or if it came up after the fact. But just basically being Fallout 4 with multiplayer, hits the right note for some people.
Yeah.
And I can't. I mean, it's not right to tell someone that that's not okay.
Yeah.
So.
True. There's definitely things we've ranted about with 76 too. Like we've Sarge can attest to this probably more than I can, that there's plenty of complaints to be had with the game as well. But like this is minus Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. This is the other Fallout game where you can actually play with other people and it actually gets updated and works now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my understanding with Fallout 76 is that it is trekking along on its quote unquote redemption arc,
Yes.
Yeah.
And whether or not it will ever be able to put itself in a position where people will ever play it again after the absolute disastrous launch. Like I think that the launch of Fallout 76 made the launch of something like No Man's Sky look like child's play.
Yeah, I see that.
Like I've gone back and I've played No Man's Sky, and No Man's Sky is actually a pretty good game now,
Mm-hmm.
But Fallout 76, that launch was just on another level.
Yeah.
Just like going into a GameStop and they're trying to give you 2 copies just to get the damn things off the shelf. So
Yeah. Well, Sarge, at the beginning of like when we started the PIPCAST 3000, hey, history, hey, yeah, woo. Sarge was the 76 man, because, right? Because you had some...
I'm 76
anecdote.
man. It's my secret superhero persona, which Caedo has revealed publicly. Now I'll be hunted down. I don't know what to add to that. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I played the game and I covered it.
Okay.
I liked it, but it's got tons of flaws. And I've always been someone who's been very middle of the road of it, which means whenever I make a positive video, I have people going, how dare you like this trash? What are you, a moron? And whenever I make a negative video about it, people go, God, how could you betray us? You're terrible. Screw you. Because that's the way the internet works.
Yeah. Bad Company Sarge, enemy of the people.
Yay! Screw the people.
well, I mean, it's right in the name, Bad Company. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
I put it down from day one.
But yeah, like builds were a part of the thing, but some of your like most successful videos are still like 76 ones, right? The
my top 3 are
the beginner's guide.
Yeah, beginner's guide. I think it's the fixer video now, and the backpack guide.
The fixer video.
Yep, fixer video is now the 3rd most popular video on there, because there has been a lot more people gradually going to the game over time. Mm-hmm. With like each major update and with it coming out on Game Pass, a lot more people have tried it, and I'll get comments coming in every once in a while of someone saying, I tried this for the first time and it's so much better than what I heard about it. Because people hear about the stuff at launch where it was at its worst, and now they get to play it now where it's still not a great game or anything, but compared to the expectations people have, it seems incredible.
Well, I mean, whenever you have to dig a hole to put the bar down, which is essentially what the launch created. It,
yes.
You know, people weren't expecting the bar to be that far, but then everybody had to dig a freaking tunnel down to China in order to put the bar down.
Yeah. When we are talking about expectations, though, too, it seems like still a lot of people are really surprised on how kind the community, like in 76, is, because it is notably one of the kindest and nicest communities that are in an online game.
Now, it's funny that you bring that
awesome
up, because I had someone recently tell me a story of like, oh, like I always heard that Fallout 76 had the nicest community ever, and then I went and I played the game just yesterday and someone shot me in the face whenever I walked up to them. Just like it was the weirdest story that someone would just pulled out of thin air. It was like, like that's not my experience.
Did they have pacifist mode on, or were they actually like killing them?
I don't know, but it's like evidently the first person they met in the game went and shot and killed them and looted them or whatever. So
it's not pacifist.
Yeah, I I kind of wonder the specifics of that story.
I mean, it could people going on the internet and lying.
I
No, I could
know.
never imagine.
I'm
It
not
could be a
implying
lie.
that at all.
It could be a lie. It might not be. I have no way to judge.
While we're on this full tangent, I want
yes.
to add in about the PvP. You actually can quite clearly like see Bethesda's stance on PvP change from even before launch to now. Where before launch there were perks that they drafted up which were to do with PvP, and then they were scrapped before the launch even happened. Then survival mode came in later, and there were some people wanting PvP, and then that was scrapped. Nuclear Winter came, that's scrapped now. Like, PvP's become less and less of a thing as the game's gone on, because it seems to just rub more people up the wrong way than cater to a crowd that actually wants it.
So in adventure, like, I think pretty much the only way you can have just open PvP is by joining the Hunter Hunted radio signal, which almost nobody does, and workshops.
Workshops are probably what catch people out.
Yeah, claiming a workshop is what like whenever it's contested is what where players are like, it's a free for all kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
the game does give you a warning, but it's a pop-up box. You close out of it straight away and don't bother
Yeah.
reading it. Why do I do that?
Just like all of the other quote-unquote tutorials in Bethesda games.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
you're picking a
screw
lock
this, I know how to walk. Oh, what? This was an actual warning I didn't know? Ah!
Oh, the number of random comments that I get on old guides still, where people are like, "My character won't run. This game sucks." Like if you go back to Oblivion, I still get comments on Oblivion where it's like, why can't I move? Like, I was just running around a dungeon and picking stuff up, and then all of a sudden I got stuck to the ground and I can't move. This game sucks. And then, like, you know, the alternative of the more modern games where it's like, I was just running around the dungeon picking stuff up, and now I can't move. Like, I'm walking really slowly everywhere. What the this game sucks. It's like, okay, well, clearly you can't notice, you don't read tooltips in the corner that are constantly popping up when this is happening. So that's first off, that's a thing. But
Yeah,
I mean, Bethesda and their Bethesda games are different.
They're built different.
They're so different. I mean, first off, they basically own the whole system of like, no, you decided to swing a sword and you leveled up your sword skill. And that's how it works. You ran a whole bunch. Well, guess what? Your athletics has gone up. Like, oh, you hit the jump button a whole bunch. Oh, you've leveled up your acrobatics skill. Like, there are not a lot of games out there that work off of that type of a system. So,
Shout out to Kenshi, by the way. I want to mention that game really quick because they have a skill building system in that one too. But
does Dying Light 2 have the old skill building system still?
no.
It doesn't. Okay, well then.
No, sorry, yeah, yes, it does. But it's split up into just the two, parkour and combat. I think I've only played so much of it because I had to be awake for this.
Yeah, the game released, like, I want to say like 12 hours earlier than I expected, because I guess the release decided to sync with where the developers are, which is in Poland.
Yeah, so like what, Europe midnight, I guess.
Yeah, which I don't know how many hours ahead that is for me, but
a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, a lot. So like, no, like I'm in the middle of a snowstorm, so like I didn't go into work yesterday, and my friend, like, he messages me on Steam and he's like, so I could swear that Dying Light wasn't supposed to come out until Friday, and it's out on Thursday. What's going on? And I said, it's Poland and release times. So,
yeah, looks like we both got something to look forward to after.
I mean,
after this.
when we're done recording this, there's a good chance I'm just gonna turn around and play Dying Light 2. Maybe stream it or something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on. We've only gotten to the first news topic, so let's.
Yep. That's
see if we
ESO
can-
covered.
That's ESO.
I'm doing a great job.
Something I was fairly interested in. I don't really like Square Enix as a publisher, but I do like some of the games that come out of Square Enix. And Babylon's Fall has held my interest. It's the next thing that
Platinum?
Platinum. Thank you. Platinum Games has been working on, and it's going to be, or it is, a like cooperative, action-heavy dungeon crawl type of game. Anybody familiar with Godfall? Maybe this is kind of the vibe they were going for, but didn't make it. And I'm hoping that Babylon's Fall just kind of shows Godfall how it's done, because it's Platinum Games. They showed multiple classes. They have their like ghost weapon behind the back kind of system, like they had with what was the name of their Astral Chain? Was it Astral Chain? Something along the lines of very similar. The very anime, having a bunch of weapons on your back and you can wield like multiple weapons at once. They were even bragging about like tri-wielding or 5-weapon wielding or something like that.
How many extra hands do you sprout?
Fun mechanically. Their MacGuffin for their game is this weird, man, they have weird names for stuff too. It's just a device that gets attached to your character's back, and it can like hold multiple weapons at once, and it's like controlled with your mind and whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, I see it.
Yeah,
it's the whole like magic hovering sword thing.
Yeah.
Okay, this reminds me of an old Castlevania game.
Yeah, it's kind of has the color palette, doesn't it?
Well,
a little bit.
What was it? I believe it was Lament of Innocence for the PS2. It was possible to unlock a vampire that you could play as for like a second playthrough or something, and he did like the ominous hover through the level type thing.
Oh, Alucard. Yeah.
I don't think, no, it wasn't Alucard.
Oh, it wasn't Alucard?
Well, Lament of Innocence is supposed to be the first game in the storyline, because
I don't know enough. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the general idea is that, you know, it's the first Belmont who becomes a vampire hunter in it.
Okay.
And there's some sort of a vampire who's locked in a dungeon in the game that you have to fight as a boss, and you can unlock him as a character, but he just hovers around whenever you play as him. Mm-hmm. And he has like 5 swords floating behind him. So like what I'm seeing here with the swords floating behind you, and then all of a sudden like they activate and they start attacking, reminds me of that. I mean, I'm being very relatable right now, talking about, you know, like basically a 30-year-old game.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't know, Castlevania. I'm pretty sure that came out before I existed, right?
Well, they don't do them anymore ever since Konami went and did a Konami.
No, we can't do Konami. We can't do Konami right. We don't have time.
10-hour podcast!
We don't have time.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
I know nothing about Babylon's Fall or what inspired it. So this is one where I keep my mouth shut.
I'm excited to give it a shot though. Like if it comes out in a good state and has cooperative and I can get somebody to play it with me, I may give it a shot, because I like Platinum Games action focus. Anyway, Halo, the series.
Yep.
A TV series, I think. Paramount Plus.
Yeah. A live action series.
Got a live action trailer.
I mean, I didn't see it coming. I thought for certain with something like this in the works, I would have heard something about it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like,
must admit, I quite like the fact that they've actually put a trailer out and it's like a month or 2 beforehand, rather than say we're working on it and then like 5 years later we find out what's happened.
Yeah, Bethesda.
you know, that's something that you have to give Bethesda Softworks, or no, Bethesda Game Studios.
Game Studios, yes.
Credit on.
Yeah.
You have to give credit to Todd Howard for actually working on that type of a system where it's like, no, we're gonna announce it, and then like 6 months later you're gonna be able to play it.
Yeah.
And it's none of this.
Except for the Amazon series.
Except for the Amazon series. That's what I was referring to. By the way.
Amazon series? What?
Yeah, there's a Fallout show in production, pre-production.
Oh my God. I forgot about
maybe
that.
a year ago or something we got told about it. Like, that's one we've taken ages on.
I was gonna say, you probably forgot about it because it was there and left, and nothing has been said about it since.
I mean, the worst example from Bethesda is, you know, like before they were bought, they were very clearly trying to like either placate gamers or make themselves even more appealing for a purchase, and it was announcing, you know, like Elder Scrolls 6 is in development, and they had the title, and that was it. And it's like, what was that, 3 years ago now or something?
Yeah.
It was an absurd amount of time ago. And
I'm under the impression that it worked, among other things.
I mean, they got bought, so I suppose it worked. They either got fans to shut up about, wanting another Elder Scrolls game, or they successfully convinced potential buyers to actually, one of them, the one that won being Microsoft, actually pulling the trigger. So
they already had that working relationship too, thanks to like Morrowind, because like Morrowind was like a original
I know
Xbox
that
exclusive
Morrowind
for a while, right?
Well, Morrowind was never available on another console.
Designed for the Xbox as well as PC, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you go and you play Morrowind on the original Xbox, and then you play it on PC, you can see how they were really fumbling with that game, trying to figure out how to make it work. There are memory leaks with the game on the Xbox. There is, whenever you go to the island of Solstheim in one of the DLCs, you build a village, and there are built-in bugs that were never patched because, it was the days before the internet and being able to patch games easily, and like that village will just stop growing at some point if you run into a bug. Like infinite load times. Don't put too many items inside of a house that you claim, because like there was no player housing in the game, but you could like just go into someone's house, kill them, and then just start treating it as your own. And if you put too many items in the house, it might activate like a safety script to so that you don't have too much geometry inside of a cell for too long, and it'll just like gather up a whole bunch of stuff and put it in a sack in the middle of the floor. But there's no guarantee that your items will all actually be in that sack whenever it tries to clean up. It could be
some items, and then you're screwed for the rest of them.
Morrowind was a graphics card seller back in the day. I still have an old box from like a really, really old Radeon card. Back before AMD was, doing graphics card, they were called ATI. And like on the back of a bunch of the boxes for a long time, they had screenshots of Morrowind because of how pretty the water was. And it was like, yeah, you can run this game. I remember having my mind blown whenever I actually played Oblivion for the first time, and I was like, what do you mean there's no like fence wall telling me where the boundary of the forest is?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's crazy.
Doesn't make sense.
That's crazy talk. Yeah. Speaking of Boundless Worlds.
Oh boy.
Elden Ring, right, Sarge?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. Elden Ring news has been dropping. And Miyazaki just wants to poison all of us. And he can't stop. It's a real problem. He just keeps on doing it.
Okay, so I've played some of the Souls-like series, and I don't know how many poison swamps are in the Souls games. Because
it tends to be a case of like one per game, but it's always like the worst place to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought they shied away from it, and now they were coming back to it and like doubling down.
I mean, they might have avoided it for like their last game, possibly, but now it's just a case of what is the quote? Miyazaki says, while making this game, I rediscovered my love for making poison swamps. I know how people feel about them, but I suddenly realize I'm in the middle of making one, and I can't help myself. It just happens. It's just lovely.
He's just an artist when it comes to ruining the days of his players. It's,
Yep.
That's a sign of a good developer, I suppose.
Anybody who plays a Miyazaki game knows what they're getting into. They're masochistic. They'll love it even as they complain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's...
Yeah, it's just more poison swamps. And I just wanted to put that in for a bit of fun. You know what else is a poison swamp? The world of NFTs.
Oh, my word.
Yay!
But we're only talking about it because of a good reason this time.
Yes. We got a positive. So last episode, I had an angry happen. I was like, grr, no Caedo, I won't listen to Troy Baker's excuses that he's made for the NFT thing until he takes some action. I'm not forgiving the whole doubling down on NFTs. And tweet from Troy Baker from 31st January. Thank you all for your feedback and patience. After careful consideration, I decided to not continue the partnership with Voiceverse NFT. Intentions aside, I've heard you and apologise for accusing anyone of hating just by simply disagreeing with me. So he's not working with them anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Oh,
all of this
boy.
backpedaling we see on NFT stuff constantly, I feel like companies and individuals should have stopped going in for it if they're like a public person, but it keeps happening. But at least people are backing out.
On the topic of NFTs.
Oh boy.
I'm curious.
Make it short.
Have either of you seen the I don't really know what to call it. But there's a YouTube essayist called Folding Ideas, and he did a 2-hour-long video breaking down cryptocurrency and NFTs how like the background on it.
I think I linked it to Sarge, and it's on my watch list. I got like 10 minutes into it.
Yeah, like my best advice, if you watch this or if anybody else out there is interested in watching something that goes really deep dive on it, like don't expect to sit down and watch it all at once. I did it. I sat down and I watched it for 2 hours. It melted my brain. It is one of those things where it's like, no. Plan to watch it in sections, because it's one of those videos where it's like, okay, well, here's the first section, the second section, and the third section, and try to take time between those sections and to just, because it's insane.
Give yourself an intermission. It's a lot of information. Just in general, NFTs are a lot of information to absorb, and also information I wish I didn't.
Yeah. There's what was it? I think he released the video and then he unplugged for 3 days, and whenever he came back, he said, No, I shut all my devices off. I just did like jigsaw puzzles for 3 days. And everybody thought that he disconnected because, he would incur the wrath of like the crypto bros or something. But it turns out he knew that he would get that stuff, and he didn't unplug because of the potential anger that would be directed at him.
Oh, it was because it was taxing, no doubt.
It's because he was like, it's inherently tied to some significant nihilism within that community, just like depressing, like people who think that the world is going to end and you got to get yours before you can or something type attitude. That's a bit of a that's a little bit of a parable, but yeah, there is a lot of negativity evidently, and he had to decompress after finally getting it out. So
understandable.
All right, that's enough of NFTs.
Yeah. So we Troy Baker went back on the thing, and he's now just doing normal stuff like normies do without NFTs. And I
maybe doing what he's known for, voice acting. My favorite ever line from Troy Baker is in Persona 4, because he played a character there, and the general idea in Persona 4 is that you're jumping into TVs to access another dimension.
Right. And
someone is using this other dimension to kill people. So at some point you save the character he plays as, and you have to explain this whole process to him. And his character is he's a lunkhead, basically. He is not the smartest person. So whenever you explain there's this whole TV world going on, his response, and I will never forget how hard I laughed when I heard this line. He looked at the other character and he said, "So what? Someone's killing people with a TV? What is he beating them with it or something?" Just the perfection at which he delivered that line. I fucking fell out of my chair.
That's awesome.
It's wonderful. Anyways,
so great. I'm so glad we got to talk about Troy Baker in a positive light. Well, let's move on to the Sony buying Bungie situation. For 3.6 billion, it's not as scary and impressive as the purchase that Microsoft made of Blizzard Activision, but it is still pretty big.
This is a little bit like the big brother getting a brand new video game console, and then the little brother saying, "See, I can do the same thing," and they bought like an old Nintendo from a garage sale. That's kind of what it feels like to me. I know that is not the intention behind Sony's moves, but I've heard it speculated that, Sony, they've got ears and feelers out there. They could have known that it was happening for a long time, and they were like, well, we better do something too, because Microsoft is growing still.
Yep.
I mean, aren't they like the second largest company in the world still or something?
No, once Microsoft has the deal go through, I think it will make them the third biggest gaming company. I'm pretty sure Sony's in the top 2.
Well, no, I mean just in general of companies across the board in the world or something. I think it was by market capital, I believe. I heard it. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think Apple's top of that. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, Microsoft's in there at number 2 for market cap from... It doesn't tell me the time. We'll assume it's live right now.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, Microsoft is huge. They could hemorrhage money for a long time. I am, you know, in regards to their acquisition of Activision Blizzard, I wonder what their end game strategy is, because at this point, the way they're acquiring studios, I feel like they're playing at some sort of a bigger game.
Oh yeah, I mean that's no doubt. Just because of Game Pass too. Like how much value they're giving people so far.
I feel like they're trying to redesign the way that we think about games and how we play them. You know, with Game Pass, it's like no, you don't own the games, you subscribe to play games. I feel like that is a big part of their plan. But for Sony, I wonder, acquiring Bungie is just baffling to me. From the perspective that I have, I do not know anything that Bungie produces that is of crazy big value, you know?
Destiny 2.
Like, and that's just it, but that's all they have.
Yeah.
And it's for a very specific group of people. It's not like, I mean, I don't think that Destiny 2 is a good game. I'll get that out of the gate. I played Destiny 2 and I was like, this game is junk.
Same, but it is profitable.
Yeah, it is profitable.
And it is popular with some.
And it's popular. It has a dedicated player base. But for that amount of money that they're buying the studio from, they have to have a cost to benefit calculation of what they're going to produce in the future and what type of money they're going to bring in the future for it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't see Sony, like, it would be messy and it would be not a good move to buy a studio and say, okay, this really popular game that you have, you need to pull it off of our competing platforms or something like that. I don't see them doing something like that. It would make no sense to do so because it would create more trouble for them. Mm-hmm. So the value has to come from future projects, and I can only fathom what Bungie wants to do or what they already are up to that Sony would want that in their, you know, wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, officially they are expanding the Destiny franchise and working on new IP, which is very little actual information other than different game, same game, both happening.
I mean,
I was gonna say I don't remember who said it, so you can take my quote with many fistfuls of salt. That Sony doesn't have Sony doesn't have its like groundbreaking shooter franchise like Microsoft does. So maybe that's what they're kind of going for or gunning for, as they say.
Is it a rare? Is it an orange legendary or something? I don't know. Does Destiny even use that colored system? I don't know.
I think they do. I'm pretty sure. That's pretty universal at this point, I think. Maybe they go.
You know, I once spent time trying to research where the hell that colored system came from, and it is so difficult it was so difficult to figure out in any capacity. Because
I mean, my knowledge goes back to World of Warcraft, but beyond, like, before that, I don't.
Like, I have a really hard time with it. It was either Diablo, the original Diablo that came out in the 90s.
Oh yeah, because Diablo had a colored rarity system too.
But Ultima may have preceded it. It's one of those situations where, like, the more I've looked at it, and it may have changed today. People may have, like, written, you know, entire YouTube videos about it at this point. But, like, where that, like, who did the colored random loot system first, no matter its iteration, where, like, the colors could be completely wrong by modern standards. It's like, who came up with that first? And I think Blizzard came up with it, but the last thing I think I saw was maybe Ultima. And which version of Ultima, I would not have a single clue. Never played any of those games, so.
Oh, cool.
Anyway.
That's a thing worth researching if you want to research something for fun, for sure.
I mean, that's really digging into the past and trying to figure it out, so. And that's the hard part, like, it's like you try to figure it out, and it's like you have a serious absence of information, and you have to get, like, original source material on it, where it's like, yeah, you basically only find out by actually cracking games open and looking at them. That's a lot of process, especially for those older ones, where it's like, oh, well, you kind of have to run emulation on, like the DOS or something.
Yeah. Well, another game that many players have cracked in The Witcher 3 at least is Gwent.
So, can I make a confession? I've never played The Witcher 3.
Oh my god!
What? No! Caedo was telling me off for not playing the DLC the other day, so...
Yeah.
I mean, even
Apparently-
though I've played it, I can't shame you too much.
Even though, like, this when I decided to play The Witcher 3, it was like that one-off, like, cooldown time right after Fallout 4 came out. Like, I just needed something else. Or was it right before? I don't remember which. I think it was after, though. But I needed something to just not think about Fallout 4 for a while, because that was probably the highest density of guides I've ever done. And,
oh my god!
Like, I think by the end, I had like 42 guides or something like that. I did the stupid thing where I was like, I'm gonna cover all the magazines. Guess how many? 120 something. It's stupid. But when everything was said and done, it's dumb. So I was like,
how did you break that up? Did you like do one guide for every different type?
Initially, yeah. I did it by like each set of magazines, and then much later, I decided to supercut it and put them all into one thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I didn't have to recommendate or anything like that. I was just like, here's the intro, here's all the frickin' things, here's the chapter points. Good luck. So,
I mean, resplicing old content makes a lot of sense.
Oh, dude, absolutely. There's no way I would go back and try to remaster that crap. No way.
Well, I mean, if you look at any other like really big successful YouTube channel that's been around for a long time, they do resplice their old content because for some reason going back and watching the old stuff just not the same as getting a splice where you're like, okay, I'm gonna look in my old I'm gonna look at my archive and I'm just gonna take like some of the best stuff that you've seen and I'm gonna republish it, and for some reason it does really well, and I'm like, God, people really love their reruns.
I think the worst example of that, I'm gonna expose myself to the internet. Caedo exposed. The cyberpunk. Cyberpunk 2077. The biggest project I had for that game was the all iconic weapons guide. That was a trip. But at first, it's now one of my best performing videos of all time, nearly. But when it came out, it had a very like low amount of reception. So I was like, okay, well, for all this work I put in, I even you know how the map is 3D in Cyberpunk?
Never played it.
Okay, well, the map is 3D.
Okay.
So if you're moving around the map, it changes the perspective of the buildings. But you can't really zoom out far enough and have detail. So I spliced it. And if you try to splice anything 3D, just don't do that.
No, I can fathom. Because like,
oh my god. So I did that, and I made that like fully available for people like wiki editors or whatever. Like, I made sure to include that at the end of the guide. Just be like, I don't want anybody else to have to do this ever. So here's the map. Use it for anything. I don't care. Just don't put yourself through this.
Just don't do to yourself what I did to myself.
And it's before I started using paint.net too, which would have been way easier. Anyway, so ranting aside, I did a full Iconics guide for Cyberpunk 2077. It's one of my longest guides. It's one of my most watched ones as of the last year or so. But I also did a top 10 list of the most powerful. And I reused not just, video from that guide project, but also commentary. But it's nice and condensed into a list format, which is 100 times more watchable apparently than than a full guide. So I have a little bit of repetitious content for Cyberpunk 2077. But I think that's the most blatant I've been. And of course, at the end of the list, I'm like, I did a full guide. Check it out.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's where I spent my time.
I mean, that's a big challenge because I've done very similar things over time with my writing for guides. I find okay, so I've been doing this for so long. The most bizarre thing I've ever gotten that I still get to this day, but less so than I used to, was basically comments to the effect of, "My God, you're so to the point. You're not like saying a bunch of nothing," you know? Yeah. And occasionally I would respond to those comments back in the day where it was like, well, I mean, you sit down and you write this stuff out, and people could not fucking believe that I sat down and I wrote a script. He's like, "What do you mean you wrote a script? You what?" I was like, "Yeah, script, notes. This is multiple takes. Like I didn't just say all of this stuff perfect the first time. Like I basically recorded the whole thing 5 times over." Yeah. Whenever you just go based on how long the actual audio files are. Yeah. It's surprising. I remember somebody else who some sort of an animator on YouTube who they play video games and then they make like little animations about it, and they evidently had someone comment on them being it was an entitled viewer basically. Oh, okay. Who was like, why can't you just like, it takes you like an entire month to make a 5-minute fully animated little short, like, like look at all of this anime that comes out every week. If they can make an episode in a week, dude. And just so they turned around and they made a video about like, guys, I want to make you understand something about how animation works and how this comment, and I think it was like he blacked out the name or whatever, but it was like, so this is not how it works.
Was it Noodle? Was Noodle the
So I don't actually watch the guy myself. Or in any capacity. Like I only saw him because I had an episode of Game Grumps on the side or something.
Ah, gotcha. This is understandable though, by the way.
so he showed up as a guest on them because they were doing some sort of an event. But he was talking about that and he was like, yeah, I had to make an entire video explaining that animation is like one of the most painstaking things that you can do as an art form.
Oh, if he was on
it takes this long.
If he was on the Game Grumps, it might have been like Rubber Ross or something.
It wasn't Rubber Ross. It was someone else. Okay. I don't know. I wish I could remember the guy's name.
We could just sit here and guess like people that have been on Game Grumps and just take up the whole episode.
Don't want to talk about old guard. That's definitely the Game Grumps. They've been around for so fucking long now.
Dude, definitely. I watched one of the sequelitis episodes that Aaron did a little while ago.
When was the last time he did one of those?
Oh, it's been
so long,
like a decade now.
I mean, props to the guy. He understands that. He understands what makes what's successful, because it's like, I think I follow him on Twitter and I think he does something called like Shuffle Master, where it's just like opening card packs or something.
Yeah,
and it's like, dude,
fairly recent.
If it works, that's cool. You know, have your fun with it. And then of course, like, I've never played Magic the Gathering, but the story is always the same from people.
Oh my god.
It's like, once you start, man, you end up with stacks and stacks of the stuff.
You played World of Warcraft.
Oh my god.
About the same vibe.
I mean, You get into it, you play a whole bunch of it, and you either stay or you figure out how to get out. That's the way it works.
Yep. Yeah. Or just move on to another card game.
oh God. Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyone?
Yeah. I mean, that's what Kite's been doing. My roommate. They're up to, I think they're at Digimon now, but they have collections of both like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon also. Like Pokemon's just the fun collection where nothing really is done with them. This is gonna feel like a call out because I'm sure Kite's gonna listen to this, but I just think it's entertaining and funny. But you know, if you got the disposable income, collect whatever the heck you want. If it's a bazillion binders of cards, absolutely.
No. So we're on this topic.
Magic the Gathering.
Gwent. Yeah, single player Gwent and Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, why don't we lump both of these up?
Well, I mean, we didn't really talk about the Gwent thing.
We didn't. We
kind of got sidetracked.
I feel like people already know what Gwent is, but it's a very short news story of they're working on a single player Gwent, because Gwent right now as its standalone game is just multiplayer. Plenty of us aren't competitive with our card games.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Magic the Gathering is bringing out another new set, like they do, I don't know, 10 times a year at this point it must be up to. But the newest set is Cyberpunk themed. Just different from all the fantasy Magic the Gathering stuff we've had for the past 25 years.
This is literally a set of cards that is meant for normal Magic the Gathering, but you have... Okay, so Wizards of the Coast has sold out pretty hard over the last couple of years. Like they've had crossover content, well, with Dungeons and Dragons, that's a fairly recent one, but they also did like movie license content. They have official Magic the Gathering Godzilla cards now, so it shows that they don't really have a limitation if there's money involved, which is good and bad. But I just linked or just shared the Rabbit Battery card that I
Kite
saw
sent me
that.
last night. I thought that was cool.
Rabbit Battery. Oh, okay, I didn't know we were doing Energizer here, but
an artifact creature equipment rabbit. So 1/1 with haste. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. And I think reconfigure is a new thing with the cyberpunk thing. I've been out of Magic the Gathering for a little while. But it's 1 red attached to target creature you control or unattached from a creature. Reconfigure only as sorcery. So this is like mechanical like augmentations almost as an effect, which is pretty cool.
That means
so you can be Adam Jensen basically with magic cards.
God, Adam Jensen.
I never asked for this.
So long.
But I'm so powerful, you know. Yeah. But so if you're invested in Magic the Gathering, anyone, there's cyberpunk stuff that's happening, which I find kind of interesting.
Enjoyable.
Something else that's kind of interesting, right? It's Ghostwire Tokyo. Yeah. Okay, so I'll be honest, I had no clue what the hell this thing was. It just popped up all of a sudden, and like I'm getting messages about it in my business account and stuff, and I'm like, what is, is this new? Or have I seen something like this before? I see stuff that's like cyberpunk style, you know.
There are neon colors in Tokyo, which does kind of give it that vibe very quickly.
Well, it's like I see neon colors in Tokyo style, and I'm like, okay, have I seen this game before, or is it new? I can't remember.
I can't remember when it was announced, but it was a fair few years ago. But it was announced, and there's not been too much about it since then. Like, but all of a sudden, like the day before we recorded this, just all, like, the trailers dropped and deep dives and tons of stuff. Because the game is actually launching in, like, March 25th. So,
wow. That's really soon.
Speaking of the timing thing, with Bethesda announcements and you know, having something to show and then the game releasing. It's really nice when they do that. Anyway, go on, Will.
Oh, no, it's just I woke up today. And, you know, as you do, you typically grab your phone and you stare at it for a little bit before you get out of bed, or at least that's my ritual. the first thing I saw on Twitter was the account "Can you pet the dog?"
Yep.
And evidently, you can pet the dog in Ghostwire Tokyo.
Nice.
Oh, 10 out of 10. Pre-order it now, people.
And I think the little clip they had was like in VR, where you actually have a hand, you know, or something like that. And it was like, yeah, you're petting the Shiba Inu. And it's like, oh, okay, cool.
That's lovely.
So let's see.
Great Twitter account to follow, by the way. For anybody else who doesn't. If you're on Twitter, follow Can You Pet the Dog, because they will let you know if you can pet the dog in new releases.
Which isn't a bad thing. I think that like they probably get early access to some games. They're so popular at this point.
Most likely.
I've heard like accounts of game devs talking about how the success of Can You Pet the Dog has affected their actual development, because they're like, can we fit in a dog petting thing? This will help boost sales.
I mean, it's not always a dog either. Like in Deep Rock Galactic, you can pet the loot bugs. They're definitely not dogs.
Oh, that's not all. You can, if you ever walk around in Deep Rock Galactic and you see on the levels there are like those weird like head things sticking out of the ground with that open and close their mouths. You can pet them.
Oh yeah.
If you tame a glyphid, because that's like a perk that you can unlock, you can pet them.
You can pet Steve. Every glyphid you tame's name is Steve.
the drill dozer that you have to escort in like one of the newer missions that they introduced, you can pet the head on it.
Yep.
You can also pick up the head and save it and bring it back with you.
Yep. If you don't save it, I'm disappointed.
yeah, I'm very disappointed. I like that's the thing about Deep Rock. It's just there are so many strangely intimate details that they've worked into that game, and I love how whenever they introduce something new to the game, they will all like it's not the final iteration. They continue to work on it.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my god, like their work on color theory for some of this stuff is amazing. It looks incredible. They'll add animations after the fact and they'll make it look even better. Oh my god. Yeah. I am not a fan of multiplayer games. Okay, like that's just the way that I am. If you give me an option between a multiplayer game and a single player game, I will always pick the single player game.
Yeah.
But when I do play multiplayer games, it tends to be something real special. And God, Deep Rock was, I think it was second to the top game of the year for 2020 for me, because that's when it came out, 2020.
Yeah. Understandable. Like I wanted to mention too, like if there's a game where the lobby is fun, like if you're hanging out with people in the lobby and you're still having fun, I think that's probably a sign of like a really good cooperative experience. I
mean, they litter the freaking space station with barrels for you to kick around, and then they give you a barrel kicking mini game.
Yeah, they have another one now too.
They do.
You got to find it in the pipes down below, like between the barrel kicking mini game and the chute.
Wait, there's another mini game down there.
Yes.
Oh my god, I haven't explored the space rig in so long.
It's a little like soccer setup. It's got the goal, 2 goals and a ball, and you can take them and set them up, and you can play the soccer with.
Oh my god.
The other.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look into this.
It's ridiculous. Like, and it's just for the lobby too. Like,
I don't know what to say. I don't know how to stop playing the game. Anytime. Like I've got a Pavlovian response at this point, where if I like grab a beer out of the fridge, I'm like, okay, time to play Deep Rock. Wait, because that's what I typically do. It's like I'll have a drink on the weekend, and then I'll fire up Deep Rock and I'll start drinking in the game.
Rock and stone,
it's fantastic.
Gotta do it. Yeah. Okay. From Ghostwire Tokyo to Rock and Stone. Let's go on to the final thing. I got a peek at this yesterday. The Sifu At the Cost of Time, a live action adaptation, and this is for the upcoming game Sifu, which core mechanic is it's a martial arts action game where you get older as you fail, but also wiser. And it portrays that very well in the live action trailer, and some of the action sequences in the trailer or in this live action thing itself are really cool. Like when it goes through the different ways that this main character is taking out the dude that wiped him out the first time. Like it's so cool. Oh, it reminded me of the Sherlock, the newer Sherlock movies, where he like goes through the different iterations of how he's gonna dispatch someone. And it's got that vibe a little bit after the Sifu character fails. But it got me a little excited for the game to try it. But unfortunately, Dying Light 2 just came out.
Okay, so I have not fired up Dying Light 2. And Sifu, like, that sounds interesting. And which, no, nothing against it, but I'm ready to talk about Dying Light. So,
well, we're just about there. We have to get through the Fallout topic.
Before that,
okay, all right.
I want to just touch this,
all right,
because I was like, okay, I've downloaded the game. I should probably like do that first time initial setup, you know, when you launch it on Steam.
Dude,
so that I'm not bothering with that.
Did you time it? Because mine was like 2 hours.
Oh my god. So I don't know. Like what? 2 hours? I wait. Okay, please expound. What do you mean?
Okay, so I use Action Gameplay Recorder for most of my footage capture. I got that before I knew OBS was even a thing, and the majority of the games that I play with it are great. They are recorded just fine. I can record multiple audio tracks. I have a lot of nice control with Action. For whatever reason, Action wasn't updated right, or something display related with Dying Light 2 just causes it to go and freeze the game's screen whenever I boot up my recording software.
Oh,
so
okay.
And the audio is still playing in the background, so the game is still functioning. It just freezes the screen completely. So obviously I'm not going to be recording it with Action. And so my second backup, which I also used, or my backup that I used for Rage 2 as well, which was a nightmare, was Shadowplay. And I booted it up, and then I remembered why I wasn't using Shadowplay, and it's because it was focusing on my second monitor, and I couldn't, there's no option to switch it to another monitor. And I'm like, this is not my primary monitor, and Shadowplay is the only program that thinks this is my primary. So I looked up some tutorials, and it turns out that it's like a registry issue. So you have to go into your Windows registry and delete specific files to get it to basically hard reset on like which monitors are your primary and secondary. So unplug the second monitor, delete those files, restart my computer, and then suddenly Shadowplay is recording my main monitor.
Okay, you just defined a freaking nightmare. My god.
No, it would only be a nightmare if I didn't have a solution at this point. There's the word.
Yeah. Yes, the tip of the day, solutions.
But then I was able to record it, and it worked out great.
Oh man, I'm like, that is insane. I haven't used Shadowplay in so long. My preferred on-screen recording software is Bandicam, actually.
Oh, so, Bandicam! Wow.
I used to use Fraps. I used to use Fraps.
Even more classic.
Way back in the day. But Fraps had a huge problem with overhead, and I've just kind of stuck with Bandicam because one, it gives me a lot of control. Two, it works with my capture card, no problem.
Oh, that's good.
And three, you have a pretty good degree of compression rating for your video files on Bandicam. You know, you can get like a really, really uncompressed video file, and you can get a pretty decently compressed video file if you want to do it that way. So, I can like not kill hard drive space that way.
Yay!
Not that that's
nice.
a problem, because like I just rebuilt my computer, and like I'm up to like 8 terabytes for my footage hard drive.
Good God! Okay, I thought. I was like, oh, you only have like a couple.
Okay, so whenever I rebuilt my computer, it had been, I think my old computer was 5 or 6 years old at this point, and I was like, okay, well, I better like re-immerse myself in the process of figuring out what the hell is going on with the computer market, because I've been out of it for so long. And I was like, okay, so there's these new things called M2 drives, which, all right, that's what I'll install Windows on, and it'll boot super fast that way. But my last rig, I was still using spinning disks for everything, except for the Windows drive. I was using like the small, like laptop size solid state to launch Windows off of.
Yeah, like the NVMe card or hard drive, whatever.
I don't know. It's just, you know, like it's a SATA solid state.
Yeah.
You know. So I was like, okay, I think it's finally time to like. I think those have gotten big enough that I can install a bunch of games in all of my media because I don't stream my music. I'm still like, I have expensive audio equipment. I will buy nice uncompressed audio files if and listen to shit. So
that's what's up.
So I was like, okay, usually whatever the size of the drive is, I try to get double that size because I update in like 4 to 5 year increments. So I had a 2 terabyte hard drive that I was installing Steam games and whatnot on. And I was like, okay, so what is the price point for all of your solid state drives now? And I looked at it and I was like, I am not paying $500, you know, or however it much is for like a 4 terabyte solid state.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll just get, you know, a normal 2 terabyte. And then I looked over at the hard drive situation and was like, oh, I can, like, for half the money, I can double my space on my footage drive. That's fine. It's so much fun finding, like, one, being a fish out of water and not understanding how things have changed from one generation to the next for components. And then also it's amazing to actually finish the whole thing after I've broken my back, you know, hunched over a computer case for hours on end.
Right.
That was the other part. I had to buy a new computer case. I've been using the same case for a decade.
Oh.
But it was not designed for liquid cooling, and I was like, I don't think that my processor's gonna live off of air cooling so well. It gets kind of hot in this office. Anyway, that's my side story.
I can relate a little bit, at least to the transferring or transplanting. I don't know what you would actually call that. Like I had like a pre-built Acer for a long time. I swapped out most of the parts at a certain point, but when I had to get my 1080 for it, this was just a monstrous card that would not fit in the tower that it came with. So I had to just buy a new case and just transfer everything over into that new case to get the video card to fit.
I mean, there's nothing quite as intimidating as like having to buy a case and figure out how to set the whole thing up.
I hate everything.
I remember doing that.
I hate everything.
I mean,
that's one of the 2 experiences I had with like, you know, switching things out or changing things in a machine to the level that I never want to do it again.
I mean, I totally get it. Like with my first couple of computers that I built, it was like the first one was crazy and it was exciting, and it was like right when I was out of high school and I was still living with my mom and dad, and it was like, oh man, like this is amazing, and I've never done anything like this before, and it's
like
my own money that I'm using.
Learning how things work and like what plugs into what, and like that part's fun the first time, not the 5th or 6th time.
Exactly. Like it was okay because I had a really cheap case for my first computer, and I cannibalized the family computer to build in it. And then like whenever I rebuilt my full super chonky rig in the case that I just, you know, finished using, I remember getting the CD drive in. I remember installing it into the case, and I remember at the same time that I got the CD drive, I got 3 games in the mail because I wasn't comfortable with Steam yet, and it was Crysis. Because I specifically was going to be able to run Crysis on the machine. I got BioShock, and I got The Witcher.
Oh.
Never finished The Witcher. The first one was a real slog, and I'll never forget why I didn't finish The Witcher, because they went back and they re-recorded all the dialogue. They re-recorded all the they recorded everything. They released the game, and then they put out at the time enormous patch. It was 1.1 gig. Back in the day, that was unheard of.
That's huge for that time.
So I downloaded this thing, and it's not like it was, you know, like it wasn't distributed over like a system where you could continue a download. It was like the old school, like if this download fails, you lose the file and you have to start over again.
And,
you know,
and standard internet connections too were like
Yeah, like it was an old DSL line.
cable at best if you had the
Yeah.
money.
So like my dad worked for the phone company, so we had a cheap DSL line. We were getting
Nice,
you know
nice,
we
nice.
were getting like basic internet price for DSL speeds, but you know. So I go through the trouble of downloading this freaking enormous patch where it's like, well, I need to back this up, but all I have are CDs, you know, where the hell do I put it? And I install this patch, and they change, and you know, all the dialogue is re-recorded, which is why it's so stupid big. And they changed one word in like the you know, the FMV that plays at the start of the game if you leave it on the menu.
Oh,
They
so
changed
had to-
one word in it that
wow.
changed the entire context of what was going on, and I was like, I am like a quarter to a third of the way into this game. I now know that a whole bunch of the context have changed, and your decisions fucking matter in this game. What the and it was at that point that I was like, I don't think I can go back and do this anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Understandable.
No. I was talking about Dying Light. All I have seen is that intro video that plays at the menu. And already I'm like, oh, Techland, you and your writing. Like right away I was like, okay. I loved the first Dying Light. I've played it so many times over, but the writing leaves so much to be desired.
Oh yeah. It's
I can tell that nothing has changed.
let's see how tropey we get in part 2. But
Oh my god.
you know, as long as the gameplay is fun, which from the limited amount I've played, well, we'll get it. I'm gonna wait until we get to the what are you planning on working on thing. You should write down Dying Light 2 in your section too. I made a section for you over there.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there you go. There's your spot. Okay, let's move on to the topic because we are almost an hour and 40 minutes into the recording.
Yes, this is a long podcast.
I like it a lot.
I hope to all 2 people who are still listening, an hour and a half in, I hope that you are enjoying it.
This is what the chapter points are for. If they get bored at any point in time, they could just skip to the topic and be bored at the topic when we get to that.
Okay, so Fallout 4 now.
Yes, Fallout 4. So Fallout 4 had a menagerie, as some would say, of DLC / expansion content. A good chunk of it was more building up the settlement system that was introduced with Fallout 4.
Yeah, like half of it or something.
Yeah,
was
I would say
the Wasteland Workshop and stuff.
about half, yeah. But then there was also the story-based go to a new area, really chunky expansions. And Far Harbor was one of those that, I dare say, had the most atmosphere of any part of Fallout 4.
I mean, so right off the bat, I have to admit the fact that I have never played any of the DLC except Far Harbor, which I literally finished yesterday. with me, you know, it's like I played through Fallout 4 exhaustively when it came out, and then I finished it, and I had some I had a pretty decent amount of dissatisfaction with the game, and I was like, okay, I need to think about this, also.
Hold on. Can we plug your perk discussion video? I want to do that. The perk discussion video you did on like Fallout 4 and the
Oh my god, that thing.
Should we plug it?
Here's the thing, I haven't thought about it in a while.
Oh, okay.
But I'll never forget the video because it wound up on the front page of YouTube Gaming when I was at PAX South that year.
YouTube Gaming.
So yeah, well, you know, it's like they're like sections of YouTube. It's like,
right.
This is for that, this is for that. So the gaming section, it wound up at the front of it because all of a sudden it got a bunch of views. I think it got 300 some odd thousand.
So just
when everything was said and done.
A spike out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. And it like I was checking my phone while I was at the convention. I was like, I don't understand why this thing has been doing so well. And then I found out why, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess it resonated. And like the number one thing that people talked about the biggest critique that I got about that video was you're repeating yourself over and over for like 30 minutes. And I'm like, well, sometimes you have to do that for some idiots on the internet to really understand what you're saying.
I think that's...
I have complained so many times about the fact I will say something one time and then all the comments will just be going, well, screw you, because you didn't say this thing and you didn't bring up this point, you didn't cover it when you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
You either get the people who listen who are then annoyed because you repeat yourself, or the people who don't listen who are annoyed because they didn't listen to the thing you said.
I think this is for everybody else listening. We know how oblivious our audiences are. Like, we try so much to slap you in the face with it, and sometimes it doesn't connect.
there's a whole lot of, oh, I'm going to put this video on the side and I'm not really going to pay attention to it. You cannot actually pay attention to two things at once. It is not a capability of the human brain. If you say that you can do it, you're a fucking liar, or you just don't know it. So no, I get it. You go and you put on a YouTube video and you vaguely pay attention to it. I do that with plenty of YouTube videos. I want basically people talking and having a fun time on the side. People are doing that with this podcast right now.
Yeah, they are. But then if one particular topic, one trigger word comes up, then they're invested in a topic that they've only been listening to half of, like which makes sense. It's just that we know, we know how it happens.
Oh, I heard that one thing. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna pay specific attention to it now. But I do not have any of the stuff leading up to it.
Have half the context.
People, when that happens, please rewind 2 minutes or something at least. No, anyways, I had a complaint about the perk system, and I don't remember what I said in that video very well, but it was like, I know what I have to say about the perks at this point. I legit do not remember what I had to say in that video.
In the video, it was because I did watch it recently, and use it as an example of like what we could expect with having you on the podcast with your your saucy buttery voice.
Thank you.
The mainly the numbers increasing or just increasing values thing was kind of your main point. At least it seemed like.
Yeah. So I can't remember if I said this before we started recording or after we started recording, but I had a lot to say about playing the game to basically have a better understanding of it before properly writing a script out.
Oh yeah. I think we did hit record after before that, so I think we got that.
So basically, I started playing Fallout 4 during the holiday for charity, for the Fallout for Hope thing. Which, if you don't know about it, like, it's just a bunch of people playing Fallout and collecting donations for St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
So I was contacted about that, and I did it over December, and I was like, you know what, since I'm here, since I'm doing this, there's this thing that I've been writing, and I've been on and off writing it. I'm going to use this opportunity to research more about what does and doesn't work about Fallout 4 and try to flesh my feelings out about it more. So I was like, I'm going to play a demolition build. And once December was over,
my favorite. Okay, sorry.
Once December was over, I was like, I'm just gonna keep going, and I'm gonna go and play the first one of the DLCs, Far Harbor, because that's the one that I really remember coming out and them making a big deal out of. Like, I think Nuka World was the last one they put out.
Yeah.
So by that time, I wasn't really paying attention because none of the DLC seemed interesting.
Yeah.
Between Far Harbor and Nuka World. So I was like, okay, Far Harbor was like the first DLC or whatever. I'll do that. And, for one, Far Harbor is, insofar as its world design goes, it's great. It's fantastic. I really like how they got additional music and whatnot in it to set up the atmosphere. Like the atmosphere was straight up. It was like, okay, I understand what's going on here. This is basically a Fallout 4 version of Point Lookout. But the big thing that's going on is a little bit different. Like, you got basically two different warring factions. In this case, it's three, quote unquote, warring. And you actually have a say over how all of this comes to a close instead of like having a bunch of very specific set pieces.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, Far Harbor was a lot of fun in the way that Fallout 4 can be fun. And I have a lot to say about the perks in the game in relation to that perk thing that you were talking about.
Yep.
And I stumbled across something that I think I have, stream of consciousness whenever you're streaming, to keep people entertained. I think I stumbled across what a big part of the problem with Fallout 4 is, and why I will still play it, despite not feeling great whenever I'm playing it. And it is this. If 20% of the game works mechanically, and 80% of the game does not work mechanically, or is pretty busted mechanically, you would imagine that the game would not be fun to play. But if 80% of your gameplay is the 20% of the game that's working, then you can enjoy it. And I think that's what's going on. I think that the part of the game that really does work, that is the quintessentially Bethesda, which is the exploring and looting. Exploring and looting is not broken. It is still there. It still works. The worlds are still well built. And
worth mentioning that it was streamlined even more with the looting system in Fallout 4.
Yes, that was something that was
so good.
It was a fantastic move that they made there. No longer having to open up a full inventory screen just to grab what you wanted.
Somebody got pissed that I modded that into New Vegas in my playthrough, by the way. Somebody got, I didn't come here to see Fallout 4, and I'm like, Jesus, do you like games that work better?
I mean, to be fair, if you remove having to go into a different screen in New Vegas to pick up an item, the entire experience is just ruined. I mean, I don't know how you could even play it.
I mean, that's the reason I'll never play Fallout 76, because there are no loading screens between interior and exterior.
Dang it!
Yeah, it's horrible. Can't stand it.
But yeah, like there's just the bread and butter of what you're experiencing in Fallout 4 is a very small gameplay loop. Like there is nothing significantly wrong with the combat. The combat runs into trouble whenever you start talking about the way that weapons are organized and how damage is doled out to them through the perk chart. And I have to say, like, 80 to 90% of Fallout 4's problems are tied to that perk chart. It is like, and like I've done a fair amount of writing already about what I want to do, but every single time I write more, I'm like, oh, I should probably chase down this other thread here that I found inadvertently.
I feel like you're right too. Like if I think about it long enough, like, and think of my gripes for Fallout 4, you'd probably be pretty accurate on that. Those tying back to limitations based on perks.
The quick and dirty way to fix Fallout 4's system is that you just want to get 2 perk points per level, because there are too many perks. There are too many perks, and they're doing too many things at the same time. Yeah. So that, and it works on a 7 to 8 level cycle. It's like, okay, well, you have 7 or 8 levels before the next tier of the perks you've already taken will unlock. And when that happens, you are suddenly stuck in a situation of like, well, you basically only get to build your character around 7 perks. If you really want to be able to keep pace with the way that your enemies level up over time. So do you take damage enhancing or damage reduction, or do you take the ability to craft that next really cool modification for your weapon? Or do you take something that will allow you to actually, make more caps at the vendors, because caps become pretty valuable at the later stages of the game, and are important in getting your hands on some of the more rare ammunition or something. Or do you take the perk that actually lets you build the interesting things in the settlements? You're trying to chase down a multitude of different game mechanics inside of a 7-level turnaround. It's broken. It's so broken in that regard. And if you just kept it as a separate system where the numbers did like the dirty heavy lifting of, you got stronger, you can now hit harder, take more damage, you can get better prices at the vendor or something, and let the perks do the fun work. I mean, the fact of the matter is that if you have RPG in your game at all, you have to have number crunching somewhere. You have to have it, and there's no getting around that fact. And with Fallout 4, all that number crunching is shoehorned into the perk system, and instead of taking something that's interesting and fun, you more frequently than not have to choose a perk that is just doing the boring number crunching, but now you don't get the fun part of leveling up, which was picking a perk. So it's like, okay, we got rid of the numbers to streamline the game and reach a wider audience, but the problem now is that there are a bunch of, well, you have to get stronger somehow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that was essentially the argument that I put into the perk video a while back. So,
I still recommend people watch it because it is pretty good. We'll have that link down below too for anybody who's.
I think when I'm done here, I'm going to go ahead and give it a look. I haven't seen it in a while.
Still paying attention. So, outside of the perk situation, like what was probably, we talked about, like, right before we started recording, I talked a little bit about the, like, one of the entertaining moments of Far Harbor, but like what were some standout moments to you?
For me, it was the fact that there was different music in different sections of the island. Like the wailing woman music. Like when that started to hit, I was like, things are feeling a little bit more creepy on this island. Like I'm not scared. I don't feel like something's going to come out of the murk. Things did come out of the murk, just not in a real like horror game type of way. But, you know, nothing like having a bunch of legendaries suddenly pop up out of the muck and realize that, you know, being a demolitions expert who doesn't have access to VATS. Oh God, I have a lot to write about that. Like, you realize how screwed you are, how fast, and that you better be quick saving constantly. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of progress.
Yep.
But yeah, it was by far just like exploring some of the farther reaches of the island and then suddenly hearing really good music. That was setting the mood. That was by far what hit the hardest. But
hey, you hear that, Sarge? You hear that, Sarge?
Yeah, I was literally thinking, I was going to ask, could you go over to one of my my video about Fallout OSTs and just put that entire thing in a comment? Because I made a video complaining about how like a lot of the Fallout OSTs are very just base level and it doesn't change, and it's very similar tracks as you're wandering through this huge world, and they should do more stuff where it fits the theme of the area you're in, which Far Harbor happens to do quite well.
Yeah.
And people were angry about that.
Let them be angry. Hey.
It is one of my worst like to dislike ratio videos I've ever made.
The wonderful thing about YouTube is that they like people engaging. They don't care how they engage. They may have hidden the dislike count, but
we see it.
Hey, you know, they did not take away the dislike button. If they're pressing it, it still matters.
Yep. If they're pressing either one.
Yeah, either one. They don't care if you're like, God, like it's interesting to see people get into like angry arguments in comments below your video. But at the same time, YouTube is like, oh, people are really engaged with this video.
Yeah.
This is a good sign. So it's like, if people get into some sort of a, you know, pissing match in the comments, I'm like that guy. I'm like the king sitting on his throne, swirling a glass of wine. No, I'm Dracula. What is a commenter? What is a commenter but nothing but analytics?
That's a good way to see it. If it devolves too far, I do personally tend to like just like delete the whole string so they don't have to keep going back to that comment just to rage at each other, especially when it's just like completely unrelated to the video. Like it devolves after like one reply and it just goes off the rails.
I mean, I don't even know how YouTube chooses what to tell me about and what not to tell me about, because there are comments that it just doesn't notify me of. I have so thoroughly checked out of it. I'm like, okay, I'll check this bell icon and look at the comments every once in a while, but I'm mostly just clearing out the notification.
But yeah. Anyway, Far Harbor.
yeah, Far Harbor. I mean, it's interesting. I enjoy the way that the story is written on it, you know? The prototype synth Dima like I specifically went back to the capital. Like I was playing as a lone wanderer, so I went and I took a hit and went and got Nick Valentine again. And I was like, okay, well, I'd better drag him back and see the weird interactions that they're going to have over this. Dima was interesting. I really like how they wrote the component of Kasumi that gets you to the island in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, like, why don't we just x-ray you and see what skeleton you have? This would solve a lot of problems.
All the X-rays got lost in the war, obviously.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what? Are you telling me that the children of Adam don't have an interest in... They're on the island. But, like, after I finished the game and... after I finished the DLC, I popped over to the wiki and I was like, okay, is she or is she not? And I looked through all of the notes that they had on it, and it was like, no, they really did their homework on making certain that this was ambiguous and would remain ambiguous, and you wouldn't know better, like, anywhere at any point.
Yeah.
And I really like that because it drives home the moral choices. Like, the ambiguity is super important for it, even though I'm certain there are ways for you to find out otherwise. If, you know, they had written, like, there are definitely ways that you could find out, but they didn't put them in the game. Yeah. So it's like, okay, great, well, whatever.
You could tell that there was intent, like, all the way through.
Yes, and I like that they went through the trouble of, you know, like, they called the voice actor for Nick Valentine back in to, you know, like, do a bunch of additional recording.
I think Piper has like lines for Far Harbor as well, right?
They like, I really like that they go through the extra trouble to be like, okay, well, we're gonna like put extra stuff in here for existing content and existing characters and stuff. The atmosphere was fantastic. I like how the more you talk with Dima, the more you realize they drive home the idea that war never changes in it, which Bethesda is not particularly good at driving home the original message of the Fallout games, which is that the fighting does not solve anything, you know? Yeah. That was the original message of the original Fallout game, and Bethesda has, you know, kind of made it shallow. It doesn't have some profound message.
We can do an aside of like the theming of Fallout, because I made another post about it yesterday when I was replying to somebody. Because the theming of Fallout 4 is subtle to its detriment. That's kind of what the gist was for my for my comment yesterday. But we can get into that later if we have
I mean, I have plenty to say about Fallout as a franchise. I've never played the first and the second games. I only have I only have understanding of the first and the second games from reading.
Why is it just me?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's because of the style of game it is.
It's old.
Yeah.
It's not the oldness of it.
Oh,
okay. It's the perspective and the way that
Yep.
combat is engaged.
Sorry, I just put words in your mouth. My bad.
Like, what is it? XCOM: Enemy Unknown, I think.
Yeah.
Is one of those tactical games. I can't. I've tried so hard to play XCOM and games like it. Anything that
the
plays
isometric
like that,
overhead kind of view thing is not your.
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah. Like, the most baffling thing to me is how I got obsessed with Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced on the GBA when I was in high school. That was a game that I played exhaustively, and I've tried to play tactics style games, and I don't know what it is. I can't. Like, I sit there and I'm like, I am bored. I am so bored.
Maybe like you're just kind of past it. It's
the style of game. It's the style of game. That's what it all comes down to for me. Yeah. Otherwise, I would play through it.
Hey, that's fine. I got playthroughs on my channel.
That's what I should give a shot to.
It's the lovely like vicarious experience. It's both of my builds now. I'm like, the Fallout 2 playthroughs in progress, but both of my character builds are unarmed explosive, or well, unarmed throwing. And I have a high focus on punching groins, like every possible groin I can. So I try to keep it entertaining.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I'm hoping the SEO with unarmed playthrough is doing its job for both getting people interested in the classic games, at least to get more context, as well as, you know, watch one of the most important things that was removed in the VAT system, which was aiming at the groin.
Oh man. Well, I mean, God, we've been going for 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Is this where we should stop?
How much time do you have?
I mean, you know, I am a bountiful fountain. I could go for another 2 hours, but if you wanted to have me on for another episode, I would do that too.
Dude, okay. I love that. I would like that very much. So we've kind of like covered Far Harbor and Fallout 4 and even some of Fallout 4's faults and what keeps us coming back, which is a great like kind of all-round topic thing. I think I will still call it like a Far Harbor discussion, even though we were all over the place and I love it.
Well, I mean, before we finish there, I will say with Far Harbor, what I like most is the fact that the more you talk to Dima, the more you learn about him, you have to retrieve his memories at some point. The more they drive home that, you know, like war never changes thing. And it's like, oh, these things that you thought were going to be detrimental or world ending, like they're not as powerful as you thought they were. And, oh, if you just get rid of the children of Adam, nobody still wins because it messes up the island type stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just not something I expected out of Bethesda to actually drive home the concept of what Fallout 4 was.
Yeah, a very consequence-oriented kind of situation.
The moral, the moral outcome, you know? It's like, no, like there's no value in this.
Yeah.
Like you can do it, but there is no value. And I think through Dima, they managed to make that example, you know, because it was like, as someone in my stream was saying, the road to hell was paved with good intentions. And that defines Dima to a really, really good degree. The more you learn about him. Yep. And it's like, oh, this is great. This is exactly it, which is one of the reasons, like, I mean, I could spin a yarn about how I've warmed to the Outer Worlds more as I've, you know, had time away from it, because I understand what their message with it is. After having not gotten the game that I wanted, I started to think about what the game I got, and I was like, oh, that's what they were. Okay.
For everybody else, what's the, including myself, what's the message you were kind of getting towards?
It is a message of what happens when the structures that you have put in place seek to service themselves. Okay. Like that is the big thing. It's like, okay, well, your leader, like there is a huge system-wide problem facing everybody in the Outer Worlds, in the Halcyon system. And they are not explicit about what that problem is until you get really late into the game, and all of a sudden things start to make sense. There is a huge... So Fallout, when it came out, its message is basically, don't get into fights that will lead to everybody losing, and to that end, do not turn your enemies into caricatures that it's okay to do whatever you want to them. You know, because that's how you ended up with like a 5-minute world war that ended everything. And Fallout came out in the aftermath of the Cold War. Okay. It was a mid to late 90s game. So the Cold War ending in the early 90s was still very real in the minds of anybody who was doing writing back then.
Right.
The world problem that we face today is climate change. And that is the parallel that they have made in the Outer Worlds. It's the fact that there is this big problem that everybody is facing, and the people who are running the system are not dealing with the system. They are concerned with their profits. They are concerned with their social status. They are not concerned with actually addressing the nitty-gritty problem.
Wow.
And that's the parallel that they've made. It's like the people in charge aren't actually going to do something about what's literally eating away at people very slowly. This is not something that is happening overnight.
It's a looking out for number one kind of thing.
Yeah.
We can even relate it to crypto. Like, that's 100% what the NFT game is about.
So, like,
rich people continuing to be rich.
yes. Even and you know, to the degree that it is an existential crisis, where it's like, if you don't address this, not only like it is currently affecting people on the bottom, because the people who are disadvantaged the most feel it first. But if this is a big enough problem that it's going to eat its way up to you, it will. You know, and it will affect every last person, and you're not actually addressing it because it's uncomfortable to address it, because it conflicts with the current way that you're living your life. Type situation. It's hard not to see that parallel whenever you take a step back and you think about, like, okay, well, if this is what climate change is supposed to lead to, then like there's a big parallel between the problems in the Outer Worlds and what they're dealing with, and the modern day struggles that we face.
Man, I love apocalyptic games, don't you?
Oh, that's fantastic. Anyways,
I am looking forward. Just one little tiny thing about the Outer Worlds, because I think I was mentioning to Sarge, I was interested in your take. The lackluster of perks in Fallout 4 is also comparable to that which you get in the Outer Worlds, I think.
Yes.
Because it's a lot of just numbers. And that's like my most disappointing aspect of that game.
Yeah, the perks are really cool right at the start, but then you find out there are like, what, 5 of them, and then what are you supposed to do later?
And
that? So.
and the phobia system could have made it into something that was way more awesome. Because they basically combined perks with traits with the phobia system.
And what I like about it is that, like, the phobia system, it's like they're trying to bribe you into doing it by giving you perk points, but it's like, well, dude, your perks suck, so why would I take it? So,
let's hope. I mean, there is going to be a sequel. That's what they teased with the trailer that had nothing to do with it, apparently.
Well, I mean, they were incredibly blatant about that. I love that trailer because they were so, there's a sequel. We have made nothing, and we're going to make that very clear. We have made nothing.
We are working on it
for a sequel.
That's we plan to do it. Yes.
Fun times.
Man, that's cool. Speaking of, well, things we had planned and things we're doing, let's talk about what we're doing. Will, what have you been playing / working on that you feel like you can divulge?
I've been playing Fallout 4 and Far Harbor. I just finished it yesterday. I'm probably going to be taking a decent sized break from that now, because I can only take so much Fallout at a time. I'm going to be enjoying myself some, well, quote unquote enjoying, we'll see, Dying Light 2, because it just came out.
Oh yeah.
And the other game that I've had on the back burner for a long time, because I still haven't finished it, is Red Dead Redemption 2. So,
we talk about games that you were unable to get into, like that's me in like any Rockstar game, especially Red Dead 2, because it's got a Western theme, and I'm not super into just a straight Western theme game.
Like, I bought Red Dead 2 for the PS4 when it came out, and I played it up to a point, and it became very clear that the audience that I streamed to was not in it. And I was like, okay, I'll have to do this later. And then I just completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
But then when I had to buy a new graphics card, during a freaking graphics card crunch, I was like, okay, I'm going to buy myself something that will look really good on a new GPU. So Red Dead 2 was it. And I have taken the solid stance that it's like, no, you're not going to stream this. You are going to play it on your own time, wherever you can fit it.
Yeah, dude. So, okay. It's a major struggle to tell yourself that it's not a performance, that like something, a game that you're playing is not a performance, and you don't have to.
I mean, that's a big part of why it's taken me so long, because since I'm not performing, I'm like, man, there are all of these like upgrades that you can do to the camp, and they don't mean anything to anyone, but they are checkboxes. Okay, I'm gonna go hunting. So, and some of those animals, man, trying to find them. So yeah, just finished playing Fallout 4 again. Gonna go ahead and enjoy Dying Light 2, and whenever I can squeeze it in, a little bit of Red Dead.
Nice, that's awesome. How about you, Sarge? What do you? When's the game that you're looking forward to coming out? Is this little game called?
Oh yeah. Well, you two have Dying Light 2, which is dominating the mind space this week. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be squealing excitedly about Total War Warhammer 3. which I'm obsessed with. And I've been playing Total War Warhammer 2 a lot because I'm obsessed with it and just want to play the game already. And I don't care about anything else in life except for Total War Warhammer 3. It's going to be perfect, nothing will go wrong, everything will be flawless, and I will experience true bliss and happiness, and all of my depression will instantly go away.
So, I've never played a Warhammer game other than like Vermintide 2.
Hey, we streamed that. That was fun.
So there are so many different games under the Warhammer banner. What style of game is this that you're looking forward to?
I've never gotten a full answer.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Have you ever played a Total War game?
I mean, is it a strategy game?
Yes.
Okay.
Imagine a kind of Civilization like on the campaign map, but then there's battles where you're like directing entire armies and telling them to like attack this other army and do it this way. It is a very difficult game to just explain verbally. Like, if you see it, it's quite easy to go like, oh, okay, people are clicking on this to attack that. That makes sense. But verbally explaining Total War Warhammer 3 is tricky. But it's fun, and I love it. Even though the first time I played Total War Warhammer 1, I hated it and uninstalled it. But then I tried it again, and now I've sunk hundreds of hours into the series, and I never want to stop.
That was like, I always get the comparison of like, wasn't Fallout 3 kind of like that for you too, Sarge? Where you like hated it the first time, and then...
Yeah, Fallout 3 I hated the first time,
and then
you're a baby and babies suck. But then when I actually stuck with it for a while, I adored it, and I consider it... Oh, what quote should I go with to get the angry comments?
Oh, man.
I consider it the most Fallout-like Fallout game. Oh! Yeah, react to that, people who are still listening.
Here we go.
Yeah, well, I mean, you want to get people angry. I had a similar experience.
Oh.
I had a similar experience. I hated Fallout 3 when it came out. You can ask me if you bring me back on.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already gone long enough.
Okay, all right.
Yep. Yeah, and even though I love Warhammer, Skyrim's on my channel, but screw Skyrim, I'm done with it, and I'm doing Fallout stuff later.
Yeah.
But Skyrim, if you want to watch my stuff, Fallout, if you want to head over to my channel in like a month or two. Caedo, what you been doing?
Oh, man. What have I been doing? Okay, so 2 games that I've been wanting to play on PC have released back-to-back, almost. Pretty much back-to-back. Monster Hunter Rise came out like 3 weeks ago or something like that. I've been playing it almost nonstop, like still able to like function, including like being able to eat sometimes and making Let's Play episodes. I tried to make some ahead of time just so I didn't have to do anything else. But Monster Hunter Rise is so much fun, provided with the caveat that you have people to play it with, because Monster Hunter is designed to be a cooperative experience. I love hunting monsters with my friends. I love some of the returning monsters. I have pranked 2 of my friends with Rajang, and it's hilarious. For anybody who doesn't know, Rajang is like a Super Saiyan ape. And he will blast you with a lightning beam. And if you are not prepared at all, you'll just die. And the developers did a really hilarious thing where at any given time, there's usually 3 monsters on the map. But before Rajang is an actual like hunting target, you can encounter him earlier on, but on the map, he's just a question mark. And he's just sleeping. He's just taking a nap up on like the highest point of the shrine map. So like we're hunting this other monster that's not nearly as, you know, aggro as Rajang. And both of my friends, the Union, I'm calling you out, the Union and Nelsar, who I go hunting with, they were just like, what's that thing on the map? What's that thing in 10 or whichever zone it is, obviously. And I'm like, why don't you go find out? Let's go discover it. Because I have a few more hours than them, so I know exactly who it is. And man, I recorded it. It's on Caedo's highlights that just went up Saturday. because this goes up
Hey.
Sunday. So enjoy that. Pranking both of my friends is on the the Monster Hunter Rise highlights, and it's freaking great. Between Monster Hunter Rise and Dying Light 2, I have also been trying Morrowind for the very first time, like giving it a solid try. And now I've gotten to the point to where I don't know where to go. Which is
there is a really strong sink or swim operation in Morrowind.
Where the quest leads you to like going into that floating thing above Vivek City to break somebody out of jail and then get her to wherever she's supposed to go. I don't have the names of places completely memorized just yet, but I've gotten her to where she needs to go, and now I have like 13 different paragraphs in my journal saying what something is, but not exactly what to do about it. So it's kind of on the back burner for now anyway, because of the new stuff that's come out. But I have been giving it a solid try, and I built my character with a crap ton of weapon skills just so I don't have to worry about chance to hit.
I believe Todd Howard called that fighting with chopsticks.
Yes.
That's the way he described it.
That's a great description. But I have been enjoying it. There is like the old school jank, but what comes along with the old school jank is the old school experimentation too. Like you can just float around in Morrowind. You can't do that in later Elder Scrolls games. So I think that part's pretty fun.
There's a lot more immersion in Morrowind because it does so much less hand holding.
Yeah.
That, or you're constantly out of it because you have a wiki page open and all the time and you're trying to figure out what to do.
I'm a little mix of the two.
I've done both. It's been so long since I've played that game.
or having like a podcast in the background too.
And only half paying attention to it, and then having a trigger word coming along, and I'm all paying attention
and
now.
Then I go to the podcast, I rage type, and then I forget where I was in the game. That's the cycle of playing an older game that you have no idea what's happening. And then of course the Fallout 2 playthrough, which I already talked about a little bit, that I've been playing and doing while I was waiting for my buddy to start playing Dying Light 2, but now I realize that you have to wait a while to play co-op. I heard get through the tutorial stuff a little longer than I expected, actually.
I heard it's like 2.5 hours or something.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna work on that after this recording. But yeah, the Fallout 2 playthrough is going good. I'm just scratching the surface. I don't think anybody's gonna relate to this part. Just scratching the surface on the new Reno area and getting my notes together for becoming made man of all 4 families, because there's a way to do that, and it's very meticulous. And I know
very precarious how you do it.
I know you two gentlemen like meticulousness in in the things that you do, but I look forward to it. It's just gonna be like the biggest hurdle of the playthrough is like referencing my notes and trying to be entertaining. Reading a lot of dialogue out loud too. Like I've become better at it, I suppose. Maybe the
question is like how much paper mouth do you have, cotton mouth do you have after you're done with the recording session?
Pretty good amount, I think.
It's just
pretty. More like my jaw's a bit tired for talking so much, or grinning like an idiot when there's a funny reference or joke or something like that. But
yeah, there was a lot of pop culture stuff in Fallout 2.
Oh, so much.
I remember that was a complaint about it when it came out.
Yep. I am basically tripping over it. I just had the Bridge Keeper encounter from Monty Python.
Oh my god.
He's on the thumbnail. You'll see it. But that's about midway through February that episode's going to come out. And of course, Dying Light 2, excited for that. That's basically most of what I've been doing. But yeah, I think that's a good spot to call it.
That's a long podcast.
Sir William Strife. This is about normal, actually, especially when we have a guest on. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. William Strife, where can people find you
You can find me over at youtube.com/WillStrife. That's just Will Strife, even though my full name is William.
You double checked?
Yes, I double checked.
Okay.
I double checked. Also, you can find me over at twitch.tv/WilliamStrife.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't exactly have the best of continuity there. I stream on Saturdays and Mondays, a variety of games. Obviously, it'll be Dying Light for a little bit now that I will be playing.
Yeah.
And, probably return to Fallout at some point. Also, if you're curious or if you want like more story-driven style Minecraft YouTube, not just people running around and, playing Minecraft and having fun, there are 2 separate full series that I did in Minecraft this last year. You can binge them right now. They're over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/WillStrife.
Mm-hmm. Linked below.
And
linked below. I'll be linking your,
links below. Okay.
Linking your stuff below as well.
I thought you said link to blow. I was like, what?
That's different.
What?
That's very different.
But there's plenty of old stuff on my YouTube channel that you can check out that's like really popular. You can check out my more recent Minecraft stuff, which is not as popular, but I'm still proud of it. And, if you show up and you watch it, even if you don't like it, leave a comment. Tell me that you didn't like it or something.
Tell me why. In fact, leave a string of comments and reply to yourself.
Maybe try to start a fight with somebody else. I'm not saying to be mean and vitriolic. I'm just saying comments help. Also, if I remember correctly, YouTube these days has shifted over to the attitude of binge watching is a more important metric. So if you want to binge an entire series at once, watching videos back to back to back, YouTube really likes that. So hey, if you want to give me a hand,
yep.
Or either of these fancy gentlemen here, that's a good option too.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Will, for joining us in the podcast. I know you were on the top of my I don't know how much you'll allow me to geek out. You were at the top of my guest list of who I wanted to include in the podcast.
It's interesting because I've tried to distance myself from Fallout to some degree over the years with limited success.
That's the kind of vibe that I was getting, but I also totally relate.
Yeah. So I've been asked on podcasts before, and every time I go on a podcast, that's basically what I'm told. I'm like, oh, I've been waiting to get you on here so long. I was like, thank you. I guess being, publishing videos back in the early days when nobody was doing it really does cement you with a couple of people.
It does. So that's me in the Ways of Rifle music video. I'm just referring to like getting put into a box and not being able to escape said box.
But I get the box thing.
It may be a little bit of a broken record thing, and I apologize if it's that. But you are part of the inspiration of my channel's kind of basis. So hey,
it's no problem. I get it, and it's fantastic that I've inspired people. It's very interesting to hear and learn that and whatnot. So
I try to. I don't want to geek out too much, but thank you is what I'm primarily.
Hey, no problem. It's been fun, and again, if you want me back at some point, I'd be happy,
dude. And if there's anything that you consider, yes, and also if there's anything you consider rant worthy, or something that you're just like, oh man, this would be a good topic somewhere, dude. Just we have each other on Discord now. Just shoot me a message, be like, hey, I love and hate this for some reason, or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am out of coffee, so I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to our mini tangents, that some of which were related to the topics.
Oh no! Don't worry, I got you. Well, everybody, thanks for listening to the PIPCAST 3000. We'll see you again in another 2 weeks. Until then, take care of yourselves, stay happy, stay healthy, and above all, don't get irradiated. Catch you next time.